Coming up on the Geno Auriemma Show, presented by UConn Health.
You beat Baylor, you beat Notre Dame. What teams out there concern you?
I would much rather play anybody in the tournament that we haven't played already. So, who concerns me? All the teams that we've already played.
Plus,
there's two things that I've tried not to bring into my program. I don't bring religion, and I don't bring politics. Somehow, though, this is a little bit different.
And the head coach on some of the most difficult players his teams have ever faced.
I hope they lose so bad because they are going to be a nightmare to play against, and they were. Those two were amazing.
That and much more.
I wouldn't trade those three for anybody in America. They've been remarkable. They should be All-Americans.
On the Geno Auriemma Show.
Our final show of the season. I know, heading into the NCAA tournament. How do you think it will compare this year to in years past?
Well, the last 3 years especially, there's this feeling of that we've gotten that, well, it's a done deal. Connecticut's going to win because they've got Stewie and they've got Brian Jefferson and we've got Morgan Tuck, and they're by far the best team in the country. So nobody else even has a chance. I don't sense that the other teams around the country are feeling like, yeah, you can't beat Connecticut. I think they believe that, yeah, this is the time to get to, because there's a lot of really good teams. I sense there's a lot more excitement, a lot more anticipation of what could happen.
You beat Baylor, you beat Notre Dame. What teams out there concern you?
Baylor, Notre Dame, all the teams that we've beaten, Maryland. The toughest thing to do is play people that you've already played. I mean, it's just, they didn't stand still. I mean, they didn't stop getting better. They didn't stop working at it. I would much rather play anybody in the tournament that we haven't played already. So, who concerns me? All the teams that we've already played. That doesn't mean that the other ones are going to be easy. No, not at all. I just would rather see brand new faces all the way through the tournament. Look at last year. If somebody would have told you when we're sitting here, hey, listen, Baylor's not going to make it, South Carolina's not going to make it, Notre Dame's not going to make it, none of those teams are going to make the Final Four. It's going to be Oregon State, Washington, and Syracuse. You would have said you're absolutely out of your mind. And look what happened.
They call it March Madness for a reason.
It needs to be like that. I mean, don't get me wrong. There needs to be some constant, like, recognition. It's always good when a team that everybody in America recognizes is in the tournament. That would be us. So if we're in the Final Four, then that's good. The other three teams, it could be anybody. It could be four completely different teams, and we're not in it. And then you know, it's like, wow, it's a changing of the guard. This is good.
If you win the national championship game, a big if, the team would most likely be invited to the White House. There was a New York Times article where some players were a little hesitant about going to the White House this year. How do you plan to handle that?
Well, let's hope I get a chance to handle that. And then if it does happen, I'll handle it. How will I handle it? If I get a chance to handle it, I don't know. That's a challenge that I've not had to face in the past.
You can just fire out questions when we're ready.
I've never been asked that question before. So just the fact that I'm being asked that question, or my players are being asked that question, means there's something not quite right, because that's not a normal question.
Hypothetically, if a few players didn't want to go, would it be a team decision? Would it be either everyone goes or nobody goes?
I think it's either all or nobody. I don't think you can take half your team down there. if you decide to go. I don't think that would be. That's not who we are at Connecticut. We don't do things like that. We don't do half and half. You know, we're all in. We're not halfway in. I don't bring into our locker room. I don't bring religion, and I don't bring politics into our locker room. Those are personal things. And I know a lot of coaches love to make political statements, or players love to make political statements. And I know that coaches invoke religion all the time, as if God actually cares who wins and who loses. And what I believe and what is important to me may not be what my team or my players believe or is important to them. So the only thing that I think we're all on the same page on is this is what we're going to do, this is how we're going to play, this is how we're going to represent ourselves. The rest is personal. Where do you separate the respect that you should have for the office? And I mean, who has more respect for it than I do, having been down there so many times, and someone who came to this country, and my mother went into the White House and met the President of the United States. Are you kidding me? Like, someone who can't read and can't write and came to this country, someone who had to leave their house because the Germans were occupying our town, and now you're in the White House? Nobody's got more respect for what's going on than me and my family. But what makes it a difficult decision is the respect for the individuals. And sometimes those are two different things. And sometimes it's easy to separate that, sometimes it's not.
Want to find out more about your UConn Huskies?
We'll both think of something that happened pertaining to us, but no one else knows what's going on.
Go to sny.tv/UConn for an inside look.
It would be Gabby, because she can dance, and I would just hit the moonwalk right there in front of everybody, no shame.
We'll be back with more of the Geno Auriemma Show.
Best players we've ever coached against? Woo! You know, certainly Tamika Catchings would be right up there because she played so hard, you know, and she was so competitive, and she was such a tough kid. When Tamika was playing, and we had, you know, Sveta and Sue and Dee and those guys, that was, wow. Angel McCoughtry was really, really hard to play against. Brittany Griner was obviously hard to play against because of everything, you know. One of the most difficult preparation games that we had was when we were getting ready to play Minnesota in the NCAA tournament in New Orleans, and they had Lindsay Whalen and Janelle McCarville, and I'm thinking, I hope they lose so bad because they are going to be a nightmare to play against, and they were. Those two were amazing, and nobody even knew who they were. Skylar Diggins played great against us, you know, for the most part. You know, when she was at Notre Dame, she played great against us. And I think, you know, I mentioned Brittany and what that would have been like to have her here for a couple years, you know, and Tina was here then, and Maya was here then. It would have been interesting, but that wouldn't have been fair then, you know. It would have just been, I'm glad that didn't happen. That would have been terrible.
You recently signed a 5-year contract.
Says who?
5 more years.
Says who?
To stay here at Connecticut as the head coach of the Huskies.
Just because somebody has a 5-year contract doesn't mean they're going to be there 5 years. You know, they could get tired of me in 2 years.
I doubt that.
There's always a time when you go, all right, how much longer can this possibly go on? You know, at what point do you just go, I got to do something else. I can't keep doing this. But then whenever you start thinking about, okay, so when? Not right now. You always come back to, I kind of still like this. And a lot of it has to do with the players. You know, I got the right mix of players. I have the right coaching staff. You know, I'm at a school that values, you know, women's basketball. We got a president who really cares. Our athletic department really cares. So.
If there was a basketball bucket list out there, you've checked every box. So what motivates you to keep coaching?
What's the alternative?
You tell me.
I know. I can't tell you because I don't know what it is. Well, let's put it this way. Let's take that Florida State game. It was the very first game of the season. And you would think after all the wins and after all the championships and all that, like, are you really going to get excited about, well, we might win, we might lose this game at Florida State. First game of the year. We got 28 more games. My reactions inside of me, my head, my heart, my stomach, the last 3 minutes of that game were the same as if it was a national championship game.
The guy comes off and just shoots it. You guys don't even have a hand up, nothing. You just let guys shoot 15-footers. We're trying to win a damn game here. Come on now.
Same as the Notre Dame game, same as the Baylor game, same as the South Carolina game, Ohio State, you name it. Like all these games. The Tulane game, like as it's going down to the wire, you're like, all right.
At the buzzer, it's off the mark, and Connecticut survives in New Orleans.
If that starts to ever become, then it's time to move on. I recently had a conversation with a friend who has been doing the same thing for 50 years. This August will be his 50th year in the same position, and it's kind of a passionate job that he has, and he loves it, and he's loved it every minute that he's been in it. And we talked about retirement, and he said, I couldn't just do nothing. I couldn't walk away from it. I'd still have to be involved. So would I just pack up and go to Florida? No, I can't do that. I mean, I like playing golf, and I like going down there, and I like, you know, I like going to the beach, and I enjoy that stuff. Could I do that, like, all the time? No. I'd have to be involved in something, doing something. Maybe we trade places.
TV in your future.
No, I mean, just, I'll be sitting over here telling, hey, do that again. Come on. Here, let me fix your microphone. Your hair's a little bit in the way. That sounds like a good job. Maybe I'll do that.
Last 3 years, I would just go, all right, let's do this. Boom, let's get on to the next thing. Now, what used to take 5 minutes takes 15.
You got to get Fee some more shots. And then she's got to work hard to get her own shots. Fisa, why'd you pass up an open shot to try to get a contested shot? Like she just made 100 working with you. She catches the ball in the corner over there and won't shoot it. She's got to treat herself like Lou does. If I'm open from right here, I'm going to shoot it. We're in the zone, Lou. We're in the zone. In this defense, all you have to do is help. Come on, knock yours in. That's it. We got one guy guarding the ball, and the other 3 guys are helping. You guys think just because you score points, you don't have to do anything else. These are little things that if it meant more, you would do them. If your life depended on it, you would do it. Hands, hands, hands. Good. Much better, much better. We got a lot done today.
Yeah, we did get a lot done today. That was good.
Have you gotten to enjoy the success at all of this team? I mean, all throughout the streak, you kind of pushed it to the side, or is it only focused on winning another national championship?
It hasn't been easy this season. I want to say mainly because we're so young, the amount of stuff that they don't recall, or that they don't think, they don't see it the same way you see it.
So God forbid any of you guys see anything, hear anything, or we give you anything that you're not 100% sure of, and it comes with directions. Well, that ain't the real world, guys. So you better get used to it.
And then the streak. That part has just been really, really hard.
UConn makes it 100 consecutive wins. Absolutely amazing.
I'm tired of the streak.
I know you are.
I'm tired of it. But since we got past that mystical number of 100, you know, and we all were enlightened, and, you know, Jesus came down and touched all of us for winning 100. Since we got past all that, there hasn't been as much of a, you know, focus on the number, the streak. And that's good. Leading up to that, that was torture.
What are you most proud of from this season?
I would say the players that we had the biggest question mark sitting on top of them have kind of erased that question mark, and they've really turned out to be amazing. Look, am I surprised that Lou and Nafisa are doing what they're doing as sophomores? No, that's why we recruited them. We told them during the recruiting process, you two guys are going to be responsible for making sure that this thing keeps going. Am I surprised that it happened this quickly, the way it happened? A little bit, but I'm not surprised that it's happening because they're just that good.
Entry to Scales. Gabby Williams got a hand on it. Good defensive play by Gabby. Dangerfield. Good look up to Gabby Williams, who kept running, and Dangerfield found her.
Am I surprised that Gabby's doing what she's doing? Hell yeah. Why? I've never seen her do it before. And now all of a sudden this year, on demand it seems, yo, Gabby, we need like a superhuman performance. Got it, coach. So to see that, it's like, wow. I'm really happy for them. I mean, I want to kill them, don't get me wrong, but I'm really happy for them.
How many teams in the past have you had to rely on two sophomores to basically control your offense?
Probably never, that I can remember. We had a sophomore class of Sue Bird, Asia Jones, Tamika Williams, and Swin Cash. We won a national championship that year. Those four. However, those four had a couple upperclassmen that were amazing, All-Americans. For these two to do what they did this year, given that we don't have a senior-dominated group, they should be All-Americans. You think about it. Who's done more for their teams than the two of them? And throw Gabby in there, too. The three of them, who's done more for their teams in the country than those three have done for us? Nobody. Nobody. I wouldn't trade those three for anybody in America. I don't care how many points they score, how big they are, blah, 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 blah. None. Zero. Now, there are some days I would give them away to anybody who want them. But for the most part, I wouldn't trade these guys for anybody.
If this season doesn't end with a national championship trophy, another one of these sitting around us, how would you define the season? Would you still look at it
as a great success, an incredible success, an amazing success? Because for the most part, we maxed out on just about everything we needed to max out on, and we just couldn't finish it off for whatever reason. Now, let's say we ever get to that point. You know, we actually get to the national championship game and we lose. because we got beat by a team that just played great.
You'd be okay with that?
You just go, hey, it just wasn't meant to be. That happened in 1996. We got back to the Final Four. We lost in the semifinal to Tennessee in overtime. And I remember saying, you know what? We weren't good enough. We didn't have enough players, so that has to change. We had a couple kids in foul trouble. That has to change. And you know what? Tennessee has suffered enough at the hands of Connecticut the last 12 months. It's their turn. It was their turn tonight. And it was. And I was like completely at home. Felt good. Then there's been other times when we lost in the tournament where I was ripped because I knew we gave it away. So, depending on how this ends, if we win a national championship, I'm going to be like, oh God, I can't believe we got to do this again. If we lose and we get beat by a really good team that plays great, I'm going to be really, really cool about it. If we get to a point in the NCAA tournament and we really stink the joint out and lose, I am going to be really pissed. So that's the only bad ending that could come out of this. If we play lousy in a big moment, that's going to really bother me for a long time.